Hey, welcome back, everybody. So, this is going to be the very first watch list for the month of March. And let's go ahead and take a look at the economic news. So, obviously, the one thing that's going to probably override a lot of the news is going to be the war that is currently going on in the Middle East. So, we're going to want to obviously pay attention to that and see how that progresses as the futures open later on Sunday and then rolling into Monday morning for the actual ringing of the bell. When it comes to news and data, a couple things that are going to be coming out on Monday that we want to be aware of. One is going to be your manufacturing PMI and then ISM manufacturing. So within the first 15 minutes, unless you see a really clear setup, I would just sit and wait for the data to drop. Tuesday, no economic news, but what does sometimes move the market are Fed governors speak. And we do have three of them where they're going to have some commentary. Wednesday is going to be an important date, primarily because of ADP employment and then the overall PMI ISM services. So it's a pretty heavy lift coming Wednesday morning. Then Thursday, more job data, right? Initial jobless claims, U.S. productivity, our import prices, and then again, more Fed governors. And then Friday will be pretty much the telltale sign for most likely where we start to trend for the rest of the month, being the unemployment report. What is going on with the unemployment rate? Last time it had started to tick a little bit lower. Hourly wages are holding steady. So what the market is looking for is a very solid job market. Now, what kind of threw the market and the software in a little bit of a ringer on Wednesday was Block's announcement that they're letting go of half of their staff, 4,000 employees, and that they believe that this is going to be just the beginning of what AI is going to do with disruption to the overall economy from an employment perspective. So, if more and more companies really push to adopt AI to get better efficiencies, lower cost of labor, unemployment is going to go up. If unemployment goes up, what's going to come down is going to be interest rates, right, to kind of try to spur the economy. And then what will happen with that is it will dramatically impact not only bond yields, but the US dollar. And then the United States Treasury is back to printing even more money with a deficit that is already out of control. So this week we have a lot going on, should be interesting to watch. As far as companies announcing earnings, nothing major. There's probably just a couple of them I would pay attention to. Target and Best Buy, I think, are going to be important numbers overall from a retailer perspective. Obviously, Broadcom, so what's happening with that within the sector, and then two others, Costco and Kroger. That predominantly from an overall inflationary perspective as to what is the consumer doing when it comes to spending and grocery shopping. So let's go ahead and take a look at the two ETFs. We'll start with QQQ, pretty much trading within this range, and I know that it is a wide range, but you could even see that on Friday, there was not a lot of movement to the upside or to the downside, right? So it was a little bit of a range-bound market, and we didn't move a whole heck of a lot. So what I would be watching on this one is, can we get above the 608.32 pivot, or do we drop below the 604? If we drop below 604, we have room down to 602. We lose that down to 599. To the upside, above 608, we're going to run into a little bit of a headwind, probably right around here at 609.67, but then it's pretty much smooth sailing all the way back up to 616. So there is a lot of room for the market to run to the upside as well. So you'll see that what we've been doing is having these gradual drives higher and then dramatic sells, right? Gradual growth, dramatic sell, gradual growth. Here we had a good growth day, kind of a dissipated sell, but these big red candles are kind of a telltale sign that when the market gets spooked, you do not want to try to catch a falling knife, right? You see gradual incline, huge drop, right? Now we're just kind of getting a little bit of a drift lower. We're still trading within this narrow range. So those are the numbers that I would watch there. Let's take a look at SPY. SPY, same thing. Just not a lot of explosive growth to the upside, but huge downside, right? Big red candles. Now, we'll see a couple of them here that are green, but for the most part, fear is setting in a lot faster than greed is. So I'd really like this chart better First buy to get above 686.26 to push to 689 and then possibly 693. To the downside, I think we're going to struggle, right? Because we have these floors that keep coming up. But if you could get below 680, we can definitely move down to 675. Let's take a look at some of the market cap leaders. We're going to start with Apple. Decent selling on Apple on Friday, back down to this 263 level, which was a prior 4-hour pivot. I think if we can hold this, right, we can start to move back up, back to 266. But then these are going to be your floor levels to the downside. And again, just have some patience. You can see that we are in a fair amount of demand here. So the drop to the downside is going to be a little bit slower. But if we can hold these time frames, right, you can move up quite quickly back to 266.90. You get above that to 269 and above that to 273. So keep an eye on Apple. I think that could be a good one. Let's take a look at Google. Here we go. This has been in a very tight range. I really don't like anything that I see here unless we could get above 313.64. You can see the bifurcation. We have buyers and sellers on top of one another. And when you have that, that's why you just have this grind up and down, up and down. It makes it really hard to trade. So this one I would stay away from unless you get above 313.64. And then I could think we could take that higher into this window up above. We'll look at Meta next. This one, kind of a very similar situation in a fairly narrow range, just chopping back and forth to the upside, to the downside. Again, we're going to have buyers and sellers that are fairly aligned, and this is a consolidation phase, right? We have our shorter term sellers, but we have strength in the buyers. So I do think you can go long if we could get above, ideally, this pivot here to 649 and take it up to 659, and you get above that, take it up to 676. So I definitely like calls above puts for Meta. Let's look at Microsoft. This one has really been a struggle. It'll get some momentum and then it sells off. Consolidation is exactly where we're at again. These price levels, 389 and 395, you need to break out from them one direction or the other. You can see, though, we get below 385. We have quite a ways down to 373. Now, this one has been struggling. It will get some momentum, and then every bit of momentum it gets, it sells off. It gets momentum, and it sells off. So I do like this one for a put trade below 389.90. Just get yourself below this pivot low here to actually move to the downside. And then these overall demand zones are fairly light. They're only 30 minutes. And if you can get past that, we can really see some acceleration to the downside. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at Amazon. Amazon, again, lots of consolidation here. And this is what's making this market a bit harder to trade. We are just in such a narrow range that we need some movement one way or the other. So I don't see anything here that I like. The only thing I would watch on Amazon is above 211.59, going for the gap fill up top. Okay. I don't like puts in this. There's too many buyers at all the levels. Again, if you have a weak market, you'd be better off playing something like a Microsoft, where we have greater visibility to the downside than trying to fight the trend with this one. Let's look at Nvidia. Nvidia had earnings last week. Clearly, the market was not happy with them. Huge sell-off after earnings, even though they did beat. We are at an inflection point or a bounce level of 176. Again, I probably would not want to fight this with puts to the downside because they could buy it up in a moment's notice. But watch for calls here at this 176.49. If you take it left, it's also the low of this candle right here from February 6th. Okay, so let's go to a higher time frame. And you can see that, yeah, there's some room for it to drop, but we got to get below 174. I don't like the put trade between 176 and 174. I think this is too narrow. I think you're going to have better opportunity if you can get below that. And then calls, if again, we can hold this, or we can get above 179.55, okay? And then we do have a smaller gap up here that we could push into pretty darn quickly. Let's look at AMD. This one's been chopping around a lot as well. a lot of good news, and then we get the sell-off back to this 200 level. Again, kind of a similar situation. I think if you get above the magical number of 262, we could definitely push higher. We do have some overall supply, but we get above this, then we only have 30-minute supply. We get above 204, and you have some decent room to really run to the upside back to 210. So don't let the fact that there's sellers here scare you. Just understand how heavy of a zone it is. We get below 197, definitely puts, but for me, I can't say that I'd like to be taking puts going right down into demand here, although we'll have to watch and see how strong or how weak the market is. Yeah, just a little bit back and forth on this one, right? When they're selling it, we got some pretty big wicks on this one, so just I'd be a little bit more careful on that one. Let's take a look at Palantir. Palantir right back up to my price level from last week, so I really didn't change anything here. I'd really like to see us get above 137.38 for momentum back to the upside. Again, we only have 30-minute supply. Then we get all the way into the 4 hours. So if you get above this 140, and let me switch to a 4-hour time frame, right, getting above some of these pivots here, definitely we have room to run. And if we can get above 146, and right, that's going to take quite a bit of work to get all the way back up here, but it can happen very fast with some of these stocks, then you definitely have room to run dramatically higher to the upside. So you can see here on a 1 hour time frame, again, I probably wouldn't even like calls right here, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that price level. And this is what I would be trading between, are these pivots. Let's take a look at Tesla. Very similar. Weakness to the downside. We are coming back up in rejecting the price level from that I had here from last week. So you can see that we're still hovering right around this 400 level. Let's get above this 403.54. You could also see that that's kind of what it was using here as well. 403.53, 403.54. We're a penny apart. Let's get above this. We could go higher. We'll get above the 409, take it all the way back up into the 416. To the downside, I really like puts if we get below 394, okay? When you're taking puts into demand, you need more room to fall versus seeing that there's an opportunity here to then take puts into all these buyers. It gets much, much more difficult for it to drop lower, and then the risk you run is that you're going to have a reversal and you get caught up in the reversal. Okay, so obviously if we get above 410, that's going to be a pretty good money trade to the upside. And then the last one I want to look at, I'm going to keep this kind of short today just because it doesn't make sense charting a whole ton of stocks with, again, everything that's going on in the Middle East, but definitely keep an eye on gold and silver. So we are at the, we are in the gap fill for the daily on gold, okay? So we get above, use the top of this gap fill to go all the way higher. If we zoom out and we look at a daily time frame, right, this thing was all the way up here at 508. So we clearly have a lot of room to run to the upside. Again, pivot high, low, watch this 495 as a target, but I really do think that you're going to probably get a good opportunity for gold to move higher. And then silver is the catch-up trade. So while gold is moving faster to the gap fill, silver is not. So this one, again, I like to the upside. If we hold 82.80, which probably should not be a problem, you'll be able to see that you should be able to push, I'm thinking, all the way up into the gap. Again, depending upon what we see this week with more not nuclear bombs, I don't want to say that, right? We definitely don't want to see that, but, more displacement, especially in Israel, Iran, and Dubai in the Middle East. So I hate it for these people, but it is going to obviously create some nervousness and some jitters within the market. So with that, everybody, that's kind of what I'm watching. I'll see you all tomorrow morning for live trading at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then we're just going to have some patience, and we're going to see directionally which way the market goes. Futures will give us a better indication. Again, I did not chart the futures, so it doesn't make any sense for me to chart them until they're actually open and we can see directionally where we're going on not only a daily. Let me clean this up for you. But I will watch, right? A lot of expansion on the daily. And this is not necessarily something that's always great to see, but we do like the volatility. So we'll watch Friday's high, Friday's low, and then we'll watch the prior highs, prior lows. And then what I will do is I will move to a 4-hour time frame to really find my higher, stronger time frames. Go ahead and get rid of this. But you could kind of see the exact same thing. We had more expansion in SPY, but look at this up and down, back and forth, right? We really want to start to break out of these levels to really get some good price expansion. But right now, it's just up and down. So again, I'll update these in the morning. So just check the Discord channel and we will be good to go. So with that, everybody, have a fantastic Sunday, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already done so, make sure you sign up for the free weekly Watchlist emails to get early access before the video drops here on YouTube. See you next time.